Thank you, Manish. That was a keenly insightful discussion, and we are nearly at the end of our session today. To close the day, we have a leader who's been at the helm of leading waves of transformation for global automobile giants. And today, his CIO masterclass is on the Transformative CIO leadership insights to help all of us as we embark on our transformation to next. Please welcome Jagdish Belwal, the former CIO at GE and Tata Motors and CEO's advisor for business transformation. Let's listen in.
Hey, hello everyone. Good evening, and I'm thankful to Rahul and team for inviting me to share my thoughts on transformation. Very appropriate, I must say, because as I look back, that's something that I have been doing for last at least 20 years. And I'll kind of dip into some of those case studies, some of those experiences in conceptualizing, communicating, executing transformation. So let's start. Let's go to the very basics, which is like what's transformation. So if you're googling right now, I did the same, and what I got to know was that transformation is a complete change in appearance or character of something or someone. Okay, and when we are talking in the context of organization, it's actually a significant change in in some ways of working of your organization. Now, having said that, let's understand where does it begin. It begins, they always say that everything is built twice. Okay, first time in your mind, and then in the physical world. You can take any example that you see around you, whether it's a highway or a big building or a school, or even your own house. It was first conceptualized in your mind. It was first built in your mind that I want it like this, and then it was executed in the physical world. Now, similarly, now in organizational jargon, it's called visioning. Okay, so let's cut the jargon. But first thing we have to be clear about what's the end state. And it's also Stephen Covey's one of the first habits is that begin with the end in mind. So what is it that you want to do? What's your vision? And can we detail it out in terms of forget what the current state is, but how do we want the future state to be? Okay, and sort of like iterate it, refine it, find the gaps, and convert that into a really really compelling story. Okay, so let me dip into my experience here of CRM. Now, this was 2002, and three of us fast trackers in Tata Motors, we were asked to do CRM, and then we were like just out of this cadre of fast track, and you're like let's look around, what is the best way to do it. And then we started conceptualizing it through multiple deep discussions, and we started forming a picture of what this future CRM is going to look like. Like we said, the future world is going to be connected, all our dealers are going to be connected. So let's get rid of the traditional concept of CRM, which is the dealer will have a system and it will get integrated to your system that you provide, and every night those data transfers will happen. And we were like, no, today we have 600 dealerships. These are going to become 6,000 over 10, 15 years. I mean, can you really be monitoring and managing those many integrations? So I said, why don't we combine the local dealership system to OEM? Why don't we have one single central system? Now, nobody had done that before. We checked it out, but we continued conceptualizing it in terms of what kind of outcomes it will give you, right? We like, we can be like banks. The moment some transaction happens at the dealership, Tata Motors call center will come to know of it and then immediately can call up the customer. Now this is like far, I mean, it took us 5-6 years to get there, but as I said, first time You build it in your mind. So we continuously kept at it, how it will improve the customer satisfaction. Now here is the trick. We were not building it in our mind from a technology point of view. We said technology will come, right? The first thing, we should be clear about the outcomes that you will get, right? Like, for example, you take your car or truck anywhere in India, the dealer will have access to the service history. Very, very powerful proposition, right? We will be able to monitor the time between, the vehicle coming to the workshop and getting out of the workshop at a massive all India scale. And we started like, jotting all of this down in terms of the deck. And we created a picture which was very compelling. And mind you, there was no technology as yet. Nobody had done that as yet. But the idea and the detailing of that idea, the envisioning of that idea in about 30 odd slides was so bloody powerful that, when we shared it with our BU head, he was so excited. And then, he sort of asked us to take it around the leadership team. And that brings me to the next, the next step in transformation, which is you have now a vision which is credible. The vision has to be credible. The vision has to be really powerful from its transformative capacity. And what it means is that it should be able to move your KPIs to a completely different level. Okay. And then the next step comes is communication. And, this is where I would say it is not like, one knife cuts all or one size fits all. You have to communicate at different levels to different people because their needs are different. So let's start with the leadership. Okay. To leadership, to leaders, you try to get a peek into their minds, and you'll find that, they want to do something big, something which seems impossible. And one of the best ways to convince a leader is to say that, what, this is difficult, this is really risky. Okay, we may not be able to execute it, but here is a credible vision. Here is like, what kind of benefits it can bring us, and are you willing to then sort of fund it or willing to to sponsor it? If you think this is sort of slightly inconceivable, no, leaders are not like that, let me give you another example. Okay, now this was when we had acquired a large company in UK. You know all of that very well. I just don't want to take names. And so they wanted to start an outsourcing program, which was fairly big actually. Like about a few thousand crores of outsourcing program. And I was invited to be part of that governance. And I attended a couple of meetings there, which was like, spending about a week in UK. And I was like, we are already doing it, whatever they want to do. And this is something which makes absolute sense to do it together. Okay. But now imagine in Tata Motors IT, since we were fully outsourced, we were like just about 15 people team or 15 to 20 people team, whereas they had not done that yet and they had a 500 people team. So, so nobody really believed it, when I even mooted it to my peer CIO there, he was like, Jagdish, are you really serious? I'm like, you know what? I know this sounds impractical, but if you ask me if there were no constraints, wouldn't it be the most sensible thing to do? Like, yeah, but not possible. So I came back and I got myself invited with my boss for a debrief to, I still remember the restaurant, and this was a restaurant near the Bombay Stock Exchange, and you know how in Bombay it is, it was a mezzanine. So we found a nice corner and we were having a drink. And I said, boss, this is what it is. Okay. And this is the sort of sense of what we can do, what is the possibility, again, kind of, just played back the numbers and the efficiencies. And then I smiled and I said, boss, you know what, this is what we should do, but this is what we cannot do. Rather, I think I said it, that, boss, we must do it, but we cannot do it. And that got him all fired up. It's like, I am a big boss of the company, and you're telling me that we cannot do it, and that too, like, something that we all control as big leaders of the company. And I said, let's, what I mean, being jingoistic is all right, but let's be connected to the reality. And this is the reality. Like, I have 15 people in my team, and another 500 people in that team. They spend in pounds, we spend in INR, and how can we do it? He said, okay, you know what? Come back to me with what do you want as a support to be able to do it. I think, as you can figure out, I had done my homework, and I didn't share it all with him then. But yeah, a few days later, we kind of worked out the whole thing, and we actually created something which was big, in terms of investment, in terms of even teams. So we said we'll build a team of a big four consultants which will be working under me as my team, and this is what it will cost, and all of that. So we architected the whole thing. Now, you know what, it was big, but I think it caught his fancy, and it got funded because the vision was big, the vision was credible. So the first thing, can you make a big credible vision? Can you do your homework? You can, of course, do benchmarking. Sometimes the best way to do is to actually just look at the numbers in your business presentations or in your annual reports, or sometimes just look at the strategy of your organization and some future numbers. Let me tell you, all strategies are ambitious, okay, so you can really get some big numbers out there, but connect it somewhere to those outcomes which will motivate your leaders. Okay, I actually sometimes call it a BHAG strategy, BHAG strategy. It is called big, hairy, audacious goals. Okay. Now I go back to the definition that if transformation is a complete change in appearance or character of something, let's put our hands on our heart and say that whatever we are conceptualizing or whatever we are trying to do, is it really going to change the appearance of character of my organization? If yes, then I think your first battle is won. Okay, which is the visioning and getting your leadership motivated. Um, I've got another example here, which is that we were going to do an advanced analytics program for the company, and there was an investment proposal that we were supposed to make. We kind of were doing some number crunching, putting up some platforms, and those numbers came to, like, maybe a few $1 million, right? And the team happily made a business case which was you know a few $1 million plus something over a period of a year or two. And they brought it to me and they said, we are ready to go for investment. And I said, listen, we are something like a, at that time, about $10 billion company. Okay, I'm like, if I can't even impact the performance of the company by even 1%, okay, then there's no point, investing in advanced analytics. And imagine, for a 10 billion company, about 100 million worth of benefits coming from, an advanced analytics program on investment of about, $5 to $6 million, almost like a 20 times ROI. And actually everyone developed cold feet. And I'm like, no, I'm absolutely serious. I can't go to I can't go to my leaders, with like some $7-8 million in benefits out of a, advanced analytics investment, because everybody knows the kind of power that advanced analytics is. Anyway, so Long story short, they started looking at it outside in, that means the business numbers inwards. And we created $100 million business case, submitted it. And the guys were like, are you crazy? $5 million of investment and $100 million of benefit. Yeah, they said, what? I mean, we don't believe you. So you basically get us the business head's approval on this business case. And it was like, abhi billi ke gale mein ghanti kaun bandega? Who's going to bell the cat? I said, yeah, I mean, I asked you to do it, so I will do it for you. And I took that business case, converted it to a 5/6 slider. I went to the passenger car business head and I said, listen, this is what it is. And, this is, I mean, the kind of goals we need to take from an ROI point of view. I can't do it alone. You will have to do it with me. I was like, kind of thought about it. And yeah, I said, I also told him, I said, boss, if you think that we cannot deliver that kind of benefits, then don't sign off. And he signed off, not without not too much of a discussion or debate. I went to the commercial vehicle head and I said, boss, $100 million of benefits for a $10 billion organization. Can you is it credible for you? I mean, do you believe it? Do you think we can pull it off? Do you think your team can pull it off? Because they are the ones who will get those benefits. And he was like, yeah. And you know what? It's actually much, much simpler than we imagine to go to a business head and sell a BHAG story. Okay. Now, what's the point? The point is that the transformation first begins in our mind. We think incrementally. When I'm asking my team to take $100 million business case, okay, they're not looking at all the organizations who have done that kind of benefits from analytics. They're only looking at inward. Have we done it before? No. So if there's going to be a change in appearance of or character of the organization with what you do, the first thing, it has to happen in our own minds as IT leaders. Do you believe in really what you're talking? Can you create a case, which looks obscene, but I mean, can you get the conviction in that kind of business case? So I'll leave you with that thought. Okay. I shared with you a few examples, and by the way, we pulled off all those programs. We had one of the best advanced analytics, which was like going and doing predictions on like which kind of prospects will convert faster, which are the ones our salespeople should prioritize on. Where are the repeat purchases? We were doing AMC, selling opportunities using those models. It actually supported almost a 200 crore business program on analytics with one of the big four partners, and it could not have been done if we had not built that foundation, technology foundation for advanced analytics. So that's like the vision, communicating that vision, getting the leadership sponsorship, and it starts with the belief. It starts with transforming our own thinking as IT leaders that we can make an impact on the business, and you don't really have to look far. You actually look at other organizations, do benchmarking, and there are people who have like benefited immensely from technology, and I mean, just to get that belief, we just need to look outside. So then let's come to the second part of it, which is like how do you get the organization energized around it? So that's where comes communications. Now that's where you kind of need to come down a little bit. The BHAG works with the leadership, but it won't work with the rest of the organization, like your stakeholders and all of that. For them, you've got to make it a little bit more practical. So you kind of need to sort of now come down and lay out your vision in terms of how it is going to impact their lives at different levels. Okay, so like for example, coming back again to CRM, we were like we kind of conceptualized that, okay, at a sales head or a line of business head level, what kind of transformation it will create for them, how their operations will change. At a regional manager level, what kind of control, insight, information it will give them on a day-to-day real-time basis. At a dealership level, we were like going to dealer proprietors and telling them that, listen, today you have 14 branches. Each one of them, has their own like tally or some local Fox Pro system. and you do not get a complete visibility of it in real time. Forget real time, like their reports, monthly reports were coming on 15th of the month after all the consolidation. They didn't have a lot of controls. So we actually, when we looked at the same concept from multiple different lenses, everywhere the story was different. It was really revealing for us that our initial thought process was that this has a lot of benefit for the company, but for dealers there'll be a lot of resistance because they have to share data, they have to let go of a little bit of control that in old times we used to think comes from data. And the moment we put on his specs and we kind of figured out the need, oh my God, he's got so much value in it. And then, their creativity started flowing what we can do. So I'll give you an example. They said that, listen, you know what? We want people to take payments at a local level, but we want invoicing to be centralized. Now, what used to happen at a local level was everyone wanted a control that I will invoice the vehicle only when I have received all the payments, but the local people in the branch will come under different types of pressures. With long term relationships, it was a commercial vehicle business, so you have long term relationships, and therefore, like there used to be kind of IOUs and all. Now their suggestion came that what, the payments will be collected locally, and then there'll be a sort of ping to the center saying that what, all the payments are there, check your system and then invoice. Now the invoice will be done centrally, but they have the visibility so they can print the invoice locally. So imagine, um, um, don't take don't assume a no from any of your stakeholders. We have to really think classically positively, that how can I, whatever I'm doing, it is going to create disruption, it is going to create opportunities, it is going to create threats down the entire value chain. So what we need to understand is, like and this is the crux of communication, that and again I can go back to the definitions of communication. The definition of communication is like, is it what you want to tell, or is it what the audience want to hear? For me, the communication definition is what the audience want to hear, or what is of value to them. So they want to hear what they will find value in. That's the story that you need to communicate to them. It works in multiple ways. If we go down a little deeper into it, like for example, we have to tell them what kind of opportunities exist. We also have to tell them what kind of threats exist. Like, if you don't do this, what will happen? If you do this, what will happen? So we did cover the part of, if you do this, what will happen. But most of us really act, most of us really, like jump up and start doing something only when there is an existential threat. And existential threats are everywhere, so you also kind of need to create a story for your respective stakeholders as to how not doing it is not an option. Like for example, in case of CRM, it was the competition was coming. The European commercial vehicle players were coming in. The American commercial vehicle players were coming in. The car market was fairly crowded. Now, the vision that we created of what kind of KPIs can get impacted positively by CRM, there was of course this other threat that we might lose our competitive position if we don't do it, and that has to be as credible actually. Okay. I guess that kind of brings out the importance of communication, the importance of uh, creating the same mental state with which you are approaching it as to why we should do it. I think that needs to be broad based, because you cannot do transformation alone. Okay, when you are changing the appearance of character of the organization, it's a team game. Everyone has to be part of it. So in maybe in the similar vein, if this whole global outsourcing one, the threat was very clear. I said, listen, if they have a outsourcing partner who's different than us, there will never be a time in the future where we will be able to extract any kind of synergies. And again, nothing bullshit about it. Like for example, between the two organizations, you could have a common disaster recovery, right? a disaster is not going to happen at two places together. Or there's like so much we could do, like, even from a business continuity point of view, we could optimize quite a lot of stuff. And we again painted that picture, and we are like, you won't be able to do this. There's a threat to your future plans, optimizations, and all of that if you don't do it. Okay. In case of analytics, similarly, everyone is adopting it. The whole world is going towards big data, and if we don't go on to that platform, then I mean, you can understand the consequences. So now let's move to the last I would say dimension of transformation, which is the rubber meeting the road, the execution. Okay, so in execution, you have to take people along. That means at an execution level, that means the team which is executing, they need to be pulled along. Again, they need to be communicated. We often forget the importance of communicating to the team as to, it's that simple question that, are you building a wall, or are you building a compound wall, or are you building the wall of the largest temple in the city? So even to the people on the ground who are doing it, you need to communicate with them. Then second is, when you're executing the transformation, you have to create a pull, because people will always be sort of threatened by what you're doing, especially when you go out and do it with the people, whether it's on the shop floor or in the or in your sales channel. So again, you have a lot of story that you already have been telling in terms of opportunity, and that's a story that you need to tell even at a ground level where you are going to impact people. The third point is, any transformation at an organization level, you need to create advocates which are outside of you, which are actually at a on the ground. So in our case, I mean, again, let me take the example of CRM. Having to imagine having to answer questions from 600 different dealers, okay, which was our initial agenda. Right now it's 6,000. We said we can't do it. So we strategized on, like, taking the five largest dealers, and then, doing everything that's possible for them, and, like, making fans out of them. Okay. It wasn't easy, but they saw our commitment. They saw the kind of energy and efforts we were putting in to contextualize for their requirements, and slowly kind of they bought in. And our only quid pro quo with them was, I had told each one of them, when I make you happy, okay, I want you to handle all the calls and queries and clarifications from all the other dealers. And they kept their word. So after those first five dealers, I think it became a movement. They became the advocates, and they kind of spread the word. So it's very important to create advocates. Maybe, devote some extra energy and extra efforts to create that advocacy. But then, do ask your pound of flesh in terms of, hey, you know what, I want you to become my advocate and promoter, right? The other is, like, whenever you execute transformation, you will always have adversaries. You will always have people who will get disrupted because of what you're doing. In our case of CRM, I think these were the IT administrators and managers at the dealerships who had hand built their, the respective dealership systems. And we were like, boss, if they don't come on our side, they're going to become the saboteurs. Okay? So we created a completely different experience for them. We created a separate 1 week training program for them. We sort of made sure that they were meeting, some of the senior people. We were doing all this communication for them, and very importantly, we connected it with their personal ambitions and personal, growth and professional growth. we said, listen, a Fox Pro is not going to take you too far in your career. You love this system, we understand. But you come on this modern technology, right? It's going to create your career. And let me tell you, we weren't far from the truth. I know so many of these people at the dealerships who are today automotive SMEs at large IT services organizations. Okay. So I think it took us a little bit of an effort, but they understood that, wow, this is the thing, which I should be doing. Now, of course, we had to be very flexible. There were a lot of powers they were having in those local systems, and we figured out a way to do it in the CRM. So very, very important thing in your transformation efforts is people who are being adversely impacted. Stand in their shoes, empathize with them, and make it work for them in a very, very positive way. Make it transformative for them, and they will become your biggest promoters. From what if you don't do anything? They'll be your biggest adversaries. So I know we are sort of at the end of my 30 minutes, but this is let me kind of just wrap up, with the with whatever I spoke. So the first thing is creating a vision, credible vision, making it big enough for your leaders to kind of, you know, to rise it in their priorities. They're anyway handling big priorities. This should be big enough to be part of those priorities, right? So let's look at it from a business point of view, not from what you invest in IT. Second part is communicating at different levels in different forms, so that you don't leave any part of the organization behind, either actually or even in terms of information. Now, nobody should in the organization should say that, oh my God, this kind of transformation happening, I don't know about it, right? So, like for example, in CRM, we were even communicating to the manufacturing plants how the real-time data can inform our quality and various product initiatives. And finally, in execution, we will touch a lot of people in execution. We need to bring in the empathy. We need to bring in tangible improvement in their lives, and we have to make it work for every one of them. That's more or less, what I had to share about transformation from my experiences. And of course, I'm pretty active sharing all these learnings on LinkedIn. And we talk about, executing transformation on my weekly, every Saturday clarity chat. So please feel free to engage, and I try to respond to all the comments. So yeah, we can engage virtually on LinkedIn.
What an afternoon. The big ideas to transform to the next, the practical approaches to get going, and more importantly, the insights that position you towards success, all brought to you by industry leaders whose work is steeped in enabling transformation. I'd like to extend our thanks to Jagdish Belwal, Manish Prasad, G.S. Govindraj, Viresh Dharapanavar, Manish Patel, Jitendra Singh, Lalit Gosavi, Shankar Narayan Raghavan, Saranand Subramaniam, Ravi Shankar Pingali, and Abhishek Bhate for spending time with us and really helping us strategize as we plan our approach to embarking on our transformation journey to the next paradigm. But most importantly, a big thank you to you for joining us this afternoon here on this summit. Now, this conversation is still alive on social media on the hashtag #TransformToNext, and you could still head down to the virtual stalls and engage with our domain experts who can partner with you on your enterprise transformation journey. And I really hope that this afternoon was as insightful to you as it was for us to curate it and put it together. So, till the next time, this is me, Ashwin Raghunath, signing off on behalf of Wurth IT India and Greyhead Media. Take care and stay safe.